Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean, and this is my final prediction for Kell Brook Errol Spence fight tonight. Um, Good fight, a 50-50 fight in many ways. Difficult one to predict because there are quite a lot of unknowns going into it. We don't know how Kell Brook's going to be after the last fight. We don't know how good Errol Spence is. We don't know how he's going to cope with the occasion, etc., etc. For that reason, I'm not 100% confident in my predictions. I don't claim to be. I've said pretty much from the start that this is a very, very good fight, very tough fight for both of them. But nevertheless, I do have my idea of what I think is going to happen. So let's get into it. I think both of them are going to be nervous going into it. There's a lot of pressure on both of them. Let's start with Errol Spence. I'm going to try and keep this short. I'm not going to go into it too much. I've done my breakdown, but I just want to talk about a couple of things. I've done my breakdowns, so I've done two of them. The first one, Errol Spence, he's got a lot of pressure on him, in my opinion, because he's the favourite in a fight where he's fighting away from home for the first time as a professional in Bramall Lane. Going to be absolutely mental atmosphere like nothing he's ever experienced. He's fighting for the first time against someone who can punch, someone who's by far the best opponent he's ever fought. And he's got everybody thinking that he's just going to go and, not everybody, but a lot of people, that he's just going to somehow walk through Kell Brook. It's almost going to be easy for him. So you're asking him to take the first step up, the first live opponent in his career, in another country, in the bloke's hometown, with 30,000 of his fans there, and then just go and do to him what he's been doing to the kind of opponents he's fought so far. So for me, that's a lot of pressure. Now, I'm not saying that he won't be able to deal with that. I've talked about his temperament as I see it, but nevertheless, that is a lot of pressure, in my opinion. Kell Brook, he's got a lot of pressure on him as well. I mean, he's fighting in front of his hometown. He's got 30,000 people there who obviously believe in him, don't want to see him lose. Everyone that he knows is going to be there. It's a very, very highly anticipated fight. Everybody's going to be watching it. So there's a lot of pressure for him to perform in Sheffield. So they've both got a lot of pressure. I think they're both going to go into the ring quite nervous. But I think, well, I know that Kell Brook can keep composed under pressure. I don't know that about Errol Spence, but I think he's going to be able to a certain extent. I've seen him talking about how, the crowd and the occasion and all this, it's not going to affect him, it's just motivation. It could be right, but, he doesn't know that. That's just him speculating. He's never been in this position before. So he might think that, and he may well be right, but he doesn't really know that. Whereas Kell Brook, he knows he's been in tough fights, he's been the underdog, he's come through sticky moments. He's fought on the road. We don't need to go over all that again, but Kell Brook has more confidence in himself based on what he's done in the past. Errol Spence, to me, definitely has a very kind of natural confidence about him, and he's obviously gets that from somewhere. But he hasn't been in this position before, so you'd think there must be some kind of doubt, especially when he gets in there and realises that he's in a proper fight with a serious opponent. I think Errol Spence is going to want to start quickly. Kell Brook as well, but I think Kell Brook could do it two ways. I think Kell Brook, he's obviously very elusive and he can fight very well defensively, going, not moving around too much, but off the back foot to some extent. He can also switch. You see him switch to southpaw quite a lot. He's got quite a lot of things that he can do. So, in my opinion, it's harder for Errol Spence to predict what he's going to do. But I do think he's going to want to hit Spence hard, early, at least a few times, hit him with good, crisp counters. And I don't see him having a problem doing that with the way Errol Spence fights. So I think just to let him know that you're not fighting some feather dusterman now. This is on your size. I've maybe as powerful as you. We don't know. I think they're kind of similar. I say Errol Spence kind of sets his feet more, and he's more of a sort of flat-footed, really digs his punches in. Whereas Kell Brook's a bit more elusive. But when he does decide to throw him, he can punch very hard as well. So I think he's going to do that to Spence in the first couple of rounds. I think Spence is going to want to impose himself, as he always does. He's going to start off slightly cautious, I think, but I don't think he's going to want to let Kell Brook get too confident. I don't think he's going to want to let the crowd get too excited. I think he's going to want to try and establish himself earlier than he normally does. Now, whether he's able to do that, or whether he's dissuaded from the punches coming back at him, that remains to be seen. Because, we've never seen Errol Spence fight somebody who can punch. And we've never really seen him fight anyone particularly skillful either, who can dodge punches and counter him, who can give him different looks. So, yeah. In terms of how this fight's going to go, Kell Brook, I think, is going to win it. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Errol Spence did win. I do think he's very good. I don't know how good he is, but he definitely does look good to me. And, he could win. And it's certainly not a given that Kell Brook's going to win. I think Kell Brook's going to be hurt at times. But I think Errol Spence is definitely going to be hurt at times, depending on how tough he is, because we don't know. Now, I'm not saying that there's a reason why he's never fought anyone that can punch. Probably isn't. I mean, there are quite a few people who didn't want to fight him. I know when he fought Bundu, I think there were quite a few people who turned that down, like Lamont Peterson, a couple of others. So I don't think it's deliberate, but it is what it is. He hasn't been in there and taken big shots from people, and he's only had 24 fights. So I don't know. We'll see how tough he is. He doesn't look to me like he's chinny. I've seen him get hit a few times. I mean, he is an offensive fighter, so his style means that he does get hit. But I haven't seen him get hit by someone who's as powerful or as accurate as Kell Brook. So someone like Errol Spence moving in as he does without moving his head, and someone who's never really had to develop a particularly good defence. I mean, don't get me wrong, he does have a good... as I say, he's got good balance, and he's got good in and out movement, and he's got quite a wide stance, and he does protect himself reasonably well when he comes in. But he's never really had to develop that much of a defence in a kind of firefight. Do you know what I mean? He can move in and out, keeping himself in a good position. But when it comes to actually trading punches, he's never really needed to develop any defence of that, because he's just been fighting against people who are, not really offering anything back and are intimidated and don't really want to do that with him. So I think that's going to be a factor in this fight. I don't think he's really ready for that. And when I have seen him get hit, he kind of, to me, he doesn't react that well. He looks a bit like he can get kind of pushed back, or a little bit kind of stopped in his tracks. So I think someone like Kell Brook, who can move as well as he can, if he needs to, but then if Errol Spence does manage to cut off the ring on him, then I think he's going to have some serious punches coming back at him. So if Errol Spence is really durable, then I think Kell Brook's going to win a close fight on points. I think it's going to be close. I think it's really competitive, but I just think that Kell Brook, I just think this is going to be too much, too soon, really, for Errol Spence. I'm sure he's prepared physically, and I'm sure he has prepared mentally, but I just do think that he's not really aware of how good Kell Brook is. That's certainly the impression I've got from a lot of people. It's the impression I've got from his coach. Maybe he's just saying that to get... But just sort of reading between the lines, I think that he's believing his own hype to a certain extent. And I think the fact that he's been fighting people who don't really have the heart for it, people who are just going to get hit a couple of times, they can't really hit him back, and they just melt, basically. I think when he's in there with someone who's skillful, big, and he's got a real will to win, with 30,000 people really willing him on, I just don't think that... I think he's going to have a bit of a rude awakening. Don't get me wrong, I think it's going to be a very tough fight. I think he's going to give a very good account of himself, but I think Kell Brook's going to win on points. Or stoppage. If Errol Spence can't take a punch, then, that could happen. Obviously, Kell Brook could get stopped as well. I don't think so, but it's definitely possible. I don't think Errol Spence is going to win on points. I don't think he's a power puncher. All his punches are I don't think he's going to be busy enough to win the rounds. I think he's going to be focusing on really trying to, knock him out. I don't think he's really someone who tries to win rounds. And I've seen him... He basically doesn't really lose rounds because he's fighting people who are a bit intimidated. But he doesn't look like he's trying to win rounds. He looks like he's just trying to break you down, ultimately try and stop you. So I think that could work against him if it goes to the scorecards. I think he's going to be too focused on trying to do damage rather than win rounds. So that's it. One thing I would say though, if Errol Spence comes to the ring wearing a head guard and 16-ounce gloves, then I think Kell Brook's in some serious trouble. And I think in that scenario, I think he'll probably get stopped early. But failing that, I think that Kell Brook's gonna take it in a very hard-fought fight. So shout out to Black Fight Fan TV, MBT Boxing, my two main sparring partners for this fight. Gonna change the names of their channels when Kell Brook wins to Special K Brook. If by some miracle or some freak fluke Errol Spence somehow manages to pull it off, then I'm going to change my name for the week to Errol the Truth Spence, which I don't mind doing if that happens. I've made my position pretty clear on Errol Spence. I've got a lot of time for him. Don't have a bad word to say about the bloke. I like him. I think he's very good. If he does win, I'll definitely give him credit, and I will, on a personal level, I'll be quite happy for him. I know he's got a lot of fans online that are quite disrespectful really towards Kell Brook and have, wound up a few people, but me personally, I don't see that has anything to do with him. So if he does win, fair play to him, but I don't think it's going to happen. So yeah. Don't really have anything more to say. If anybody's got any comments they want to leave, any last minute predictions, let me know. Thank you very much for watching.